If you're looking for places to travel to with great fishing, then this episode is for you.
Beautiful fish.
We're going to cover specific lakes and regions across the upper Midwest and Canada and why we chose them.
Got it. Wow, that's a big one, dude.
Along with our gear and tackle reviews, how to use them, how to catch fish with them, and also current guide reports. Let's get started. This is Angling Buzz, brought to you by Omnia Fishing, a smarter way to shop for fishing tackle. We have an interesting show for you today. We're going to be talking about fantastic fishing destinations. You know, right now it's a really great time to book a trip for a vacation, and we're going to share some ideas and places for you to consider, and including some hot bites as to why we picked them. We have seasoned anglers that have done a lot of fishing. They've traveled a lot, and they're going to share some of their favorite destinations. First up is James Linder. James, what is one place that you could pick with some incredible fishing?
That's sort of a tough question, Troy, because the reason is there's so many different great places to fish in North America. You know, over the years I've fished everywhere. But one that comes to mind would be fishing in Michigan, and it's with these guys called Sportfish Michigan. What this is a group of guides, Ben Wolf, Chad Diltz, Ron Dome Jr., for a wide variety of different fish species. Got him? There you go. Right now, as we speak, they have fantastic smallmouth bass fishing in Grand Traverse Bay. We're talking finesse fishing, hair jigs, light finesse swim baits, and you're sight fishing for bass. The water is absolutely gin clear. They got another bite, and I actually did this with Chad Diltz, and it was sight fishing in 25 to 30 foot of water for lake trout and herring. The water is so clear, you drive over these flats and you can see down 25 foot of water and see the schools of fish moving around. We're using blade baits and jigging wraps, pop jigging off the bottom to trigger these fish into biting. But they also have alternate species to fish for. They got a really good king salmon bite and coho bite and traditional down rigging throughout the summer, as well as a really super cool vertical jigging bite for salmon late in the summer when the fish are starting to concentrate in and around the rivers to spawn. The last trip I was over there, it was with Ben Wolf, and this was super cool because it was on the Saginaw River, and what we caught were giant flathead catfish in cold water. It's just one of those sort of interesting places. It's super fishy, beautiful area. I mean, it's a great tourist destination and just some really, really fascinating fishing opportunities. But I'm looking forward to going back. I'm actually going back there this year again.
Thanks, James. Up next is Mike Hayner. Now, Mike, I know you've filmed and traveled all over North America. What's one place for a bucket list fishing destination?
Well, Troy, I would take a serious look at the state of North Dakota. I've been going there for 20 years now, over 20 years, filming and fishing, and really can't say I've had a bad trip over there. When you think of North Dakota, the first thing you think of is the Missouri River system. The river itself, Lake Sakakawea and the upper end of Lake Oahe. Both of these lakes and the river are known for big walleyes and big pike. Both of these lakes have good forage in them, smelt in Sakakawea, Cisco's in Oahe, and as of late, you've been hearing of 12 to 15 pound walleyes coming out of there, and pike well over 20. So it's just a great place to go for a trophy pike or walleye. Other options would be Devil's Lake and Lake Ashtabula, Stump Lake, and Lake Darling. Those are some good multi-species lakes to try. And finally, if you're a catfish head, the Red River of the North is hard to beat. I would say this stretch of the river that separates Minnesota and North Dakota running into Canada is probably the best place in the country to catch giant channel catfish. You're looking to catch fish in the 12 to 25 pound range. It's really easy fishing and you can catch lots of them.
Yeah, big cats like that, that's a lot of fun. I know I like North Dakota for the shore fishing walleye, and it also has some really untouched smallmouth bass fishing there as well. Thanks, Mike. And next, we're joined by Jeremy Smith. Now, Jeremy, I know you've traveled all over Canada, and looking on the map there, the different provinces, all the lakes, it's a lot to take in, and there's just some awesome fishing all over.
You're right about Canada. I've had the good fortune to fish a lot of places throughout Canada over the years, and there are so many great destinations. Now, I have to say, my absolute favorite is fishing for muskies in northwest Ontario Sunset Country. There are so many amazing fisheries up here. Lake of the Woods, Eagle, Lac Seul, Wabigoon, and of course a number of smaller fisheries. There are more spots that you could fish in a lifetime, and the scenery is absolutely spectacular. Now, of course, Canada is famous for its walleyes as well. It's not just Ontario, but Saskatchewan, Manitoba, all of these places are loaded with walleyes, and numbers of them also offer tremendous trophy opportunities. Big pike, of course, there's amazing big pike fisheries throughout Canada. Some stuff that's just north of the border, like Rainy and Lake of the Woods, offers tremendous fishing for big pike, but there's also those world-class destinations in the far north, fly-in lodges that offer really amazing action for giant northern pike. And it's not just walleyes, pike, and muskies. Of course, there's lake trout up there. Some places have some huge crappies, smallmouth bass, and even whitefish and cisco. So there's a ton of great fishing opportunities in Canada. You can drive to them, you can fly to them, you can houseboat in them. Anything you want to do up there for a fishing trip, it's certainly a possibility and truly amazing.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, without question, Canada has some incredible fishing opportunities. And we have even more places and ideas to share for you to travel to further down in the show. And now it's time for a highlight destination feature. We're heading to Lake Vermilion.
I'm fishing on one of my favorite lakes in Minnesota. It's Lake Vermilion, and I'm fishing with one of my favorite buddies up here who's guided up here for years, Billy Rosner. We fish together every year, and we've done a number of television shows up here. And not only me, but Jimmy's been up here, Jeremy's been up here. At the beginning of my career, I sampled this lake 47, 48 years ago, and I've been back to it ever since. It's an amazing body of water. And Billy said, hey, the walleyes are going pretty good. Why don't you come on up? Yeah, you know, and we'll have a good time for a couple days, jerk some jaws. That's what we're doing. You know, there's so many different ways, delivery systems and presentations to fish for walleyes. Yeah, you know, you've got lead core trolling bites, basin bites. You've got suspended walleyes that can be caught pulling plugs and crawler harnesses. You could cork them with leeches. You could live bait rig them, you could bottom bounce them, you could three-way them with spinners on them and plugs in some conditions, a whole variety of jigging presentations, live bait rigging with night crawlers, leeches, minnows, and here on Lake Vermilion, all of them at some time or another can be absolutely deadly. That's what I love about this lake. It is not a boring lake to fish. Personally, I love fishing jigs. Now I got to show you this. My 5 favorite jig type baits. I never go out on the water without a ripping wrap on. Deadly, 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 and it tends to really produce big fish. You never, ever, ever go walleye fishing when fish are on the bottom without a jigging wrap. It is still one of the most amazingly productive baits I've ever seen. Now when it comes to soft plastics, boot tails on a moon-eye jig, varieties of different kind of boot tails and colors and sizes. And the boot tail, what I like about the boot tail, it fishes a little bit slower. It grabs a lot of water, and I like a flat-sided boot tail. Then you got the split tail on a moon-eye jig. The split tail fishes really fast. I mean, it cuts water so quick, yeah, you know, and it triggers fish when the boot tail doesn't. So all 4 of these come into place. And then for the last, this is the 3rd year that I've been fishing and helping VMC put together this moontail jig. This jig is one of the best jigs I've ever fished. You can fish the jig so fast that it's flat thin and it just drops like a bullet, kind of like a jigging wrap done with hair. That's the way I could describe it. The color variety on this jig is incredible for any watercolor you're going to be faced with. And one of the keys is the hair's got to be thin. You need it to breathe and be sparse. This jig is amazing. You're a jig fisherman, get yourself some moontail jigs. I promise you, you will not regret it.
I'm coming up.
I think I need another net. Billy, Vermilion is such a diverse fishery. You've got basically, you got a west end, you got an east end, and you got the center of the lake. Tell us a little bit, somebody planning to come up here for any kind of fish, how does it shake out?
You know, in my opinion and experience for many years of guiding up here, you know, if you want to catch a big trophy walleye, you know, I'd pick the west end of the lake. If you want to catch muskies and numbers of them, I'd pick the far east side of the lake. If you're looking for your smaller age class walleyes, that Central Basin area and Big Bay, that's where I'd focus on, you know, if you really wanted the numbers of walleyes. And you know, this west end has more weeds, more fertile, soft bays. If you want to focus on smallmouth, the east end is a little better for smallies with all your rock reefs and that sort of stuff. So, you know, you got a little bit of everything for everybody.
Lake Vermilion is a really beautiful place, and it's about as close as you can get to Canada in the United States for the look and feel of the lake, as well as the fish you can catch: big muskie, big smallmouth bass, big panfish, and big walleye.
We're here to talk about this week's AnglingBuzz Fishery Report for Leech Lake. Hey, I'm Toby Cavalli-Bug. That's Jason Freed. The water is warming. The water temps are in that upper 40s to low 50s. The shiners are pushing shallow. They're starting to get some. There's not a lot in the bait shops, but that means we might have to be creative. You know, one thing we want to focus on for Leech Lake is going to be the windy shoreline points. Sand and sandgrass, and any place there's current, because the water is clear, it's cold, and the fish are going to be spooky. So get away from some of those flotillas of boats. Yep. Find that warmer water, find the shiners, use your side imaging, and what are we going to do for attacking, Jason?
Simple, jig and a minnow, right there. Something like a long shank or short shank jig. This is that new tungsten Northland jig right here. Get it all the way from the boat, fan cast, long line. All right, or if you are having a hard time finding minnows, something like a hair jig, something along those lines. You can catch some fish on Leech Lake.
Now let's head north to Lake Vermilion with Billy Rosner.
Vermilion's well known for its walleye and muskie, but there's also a great crappie bite on Vermilion. This time of year, you're going to want to get back in those south-facing bays, those softer, muddier bottom bays. They warm up typically in the afternoon pretty fast, and that's when you look for the best bite in those areas. And start out a little deeper, trust in your electronics. You know, they're going to be out there probably 15, 20 feet or so. As those bays warm up in the afternoon, they're going to slide in shallower. You know, look for some old weeds, some old wood in the water, down trees, rocks, anything that'll attract them. Those are all good areas to look. It's pretty hard to beat the old slip bobber and minnow under like a little VMC small, you know, 30-second, 16-ounce jig. That's hard to beat. But I really like using like kaolin, the crappie scrubs on a little jig, or just a hook and a split shot. And then VMC too, they have a ton of little panfish jigs and plastics that all work to put crappies in the boat. Have a great week and be safe out there.
Now let's head down to the Alexandria area with Joe Segura.
The big topic is, do you have minnows? And if you don't, it can be a problem in some areas. You know, artificials obviously work. They catch a lot of fish. You have crankbaits, you have plastics. All of those things work really, really well, but you have to use them at the right time. Everything is a tool, right? And you have to use that tool for the proper job. If you're going to use artificials and you do not have minnows this early season, I would look to moving water, dirty water, or fishing, you know, your low light at night or morning and evening time periods. That's going to give you a little better option to dupe these fish with these artificial baits. If you do have minnows and you find yourself in that situation, you can go business as usual. Fish a sunny, bright day like this, go out with Lindy rigs, jigs, and do really well on these clear bodies of water. But if you don't, just look for those type of areas. Low light, something that's going to obstruct their vision a little bit. Moving water or dirty water are going to do a lot better on those areas with your artificial baits.
Let's head east and check in with the Sportfish Michigan crew.
In southern Michigan, anglers are still doing really well on the Detroit River, getting good numbers of walleyes, mostly smaller males. Anglers that are fishing out on Lake Erie and Lake St. Clair are still into the big post-spawn females. They're noticing a really good pattern trolling down there. Up in northern Michigan, we have a really good pre-spawn smallmouth bite in places like Grand Traverse Bays, a lot of the inland lakes in the surrounding area. We're also seeing some nice catches of perch on inland lakes. The walleye anglers on the inland lakes are doing well. Today we're out on a beautiful portion of Lake Michigan in the Grand Traverse Bay region, catching some Cisco, whitefish, and lake trout. You got to get out if you want to just get out and fun fish. It's an amazing time to take advantage of a super fun bite. Hope everybody has a great week.
Now let's jump over to Devil's Lake with Jason Mitchell.
The bite on Devil's Lake is really starting to fire up. We're starting to see some post-spawn females. These fish have just dumped their eggs. And basically the best program is fishing from shore. Any type of a bridge, box culvert, anywhere where there's some current combined with rock, some type of hard bottom, whether it's riprap or rock or gravel. You find that hard bottom, you find current, you're gonna find fish right now. There's been some really good bites happening from shore. I'd recommend chest waders or even hip boots, just so you can get away from people a little bit. But basically the program, these mimic minnows have been catching a lot of fish. Okay, it's just a paddle tail, the 1/4 ounce to an 1/8 ounce. And then just a basic jig head, a slurp jig, for example, the impulse paddle tail, something that's about 3 to 6 inches, white chartreuse, bright colors have been pretty good, but don't be afraid to mix that up. A lot of times your afternoons are gonna be a little bit better, but if you can find any type of a gravel, hard bottom current, you're gonna probably find fish.
And now it's time for our cool products brought to you by Omnia Fishing. And we're talking about fine fishing destinations today. We're going to start with a travel rod from St. Croix. This is the 4-piece Triumph Travel. And I've used this actually a lot. I really like their multi-piece rods. And this is the 6.6 medium action rod. And this is great. I've got walleye with this, actually panfish as well, trout, carp, pike, you name it. And it folds up very easily in the soft-sided case. It's very durable and very sensitive for a 4-piece rod. This is just an awesome series from St. Croix, the Triumph Travel 4-piece rod. And next, a couple crankbait options. The first one from Northland Tackle. This is the Rumble Bug. This is a shallow running crankbait, about 4 to 7 feet. You can cast this, you can troll this, and this time of year, walleye, this is perfect. You can actually just flatline troll this as well. You can also just cast this shallow for bass, some really nice colors here. Premium balsa bait from Northland Tackle, the Rumble Bug. And next, the Shad Rap series from Rapala with some new colors. These are some awesome bright colors. This is great. It's a smallmouth bass, walleye, and trout. And these are floating baits. You can cast these, you control these. I fish these sometimes even like a jerkbait with a pole pause. It works really well. Like I said, bass, walleye, trout. This is a tried and tested series from Rapala, the Shad Rap, in some new color patterns. And next, the Dakota Lithium Power Box 60. I'm gonna turn it up right here. And on the front, you press the button, open this up, press the button, and you can see the voltmeter here. And then also you have USB-A, USB-C port, and then you have terminals here that you can alligator clip on, whether you're using this as a deep cycle battery or a starting battery. And then if you open the top, see the main battery is inside here. This charges 5 times faster. This is lithium power. These are incredible, high quality batteries, way better than a lead acid battery. You have a power inverter here, 600 watts of peak power, 1,000 cold cranking amps, so you can use this as a deep cycle battery, a starting battery, and you have a pocket storage area here for your cords, your alligator clips as well. This is just a perfect power system for when you're camping, you're off grid. From Dakota Lithium, the Power Box 60. And lastly, the Blackfish Rage Boot. This is a very comfortable boot. You can use it in warm weather, cold weather. It is 100% waterproof, has tabs on the front and back to easily pull it on and off. It features a non-marking and high traction sole. This is going to keep you comfortable in conditions that are cold or wet, but especially if it's raining out, inclement weather, if you're kayaking, you're in the boat, it's going to keep your feet dry and comfortable. You can find these products and many more at omniafishing.com. And next, it's time for our technique of the week.
Now, I've had the privilege of traveling all over, from northern Canada down to the Caribbean. No matter where I've gone, there's always a few items I always bring with me. Now, I'm gonna kind of run through that list. The first is good quality rain gear, because you can't control the weather. This is the Blackfish Torrent suit, and it's gonna keep you nice and dry no matter what conditions you face. The next is a good quality headlamp. Now, this is the Wavy Label headlamp. It's got 4 different settings, and it's great for, fishing after dark or unpacking or unloading a car when it's low light conditions. The next is bug spray and sunscreen. You don't want to leave home without them. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. Another really important tool is the 7-inch Flex Bubba folding knife. Now this knife's great because it's long enough you can fillet fish with it, but it has a number of other great uses. The next is a good quality first aid kit just in case, because you want to be prepared in case something does happen. Another item you can't leave home without is some good quality sunglasses. Here I've got the wavy label sunglasses. These are great because you're able to see fish in the water, they're really comfy to wear, and they're going to protect your eyes. The next is the Dakota Power Box 10. Now this box is really handy because, I have power wherever I go, especially if you're going to be in remote places. It's really nice. You can always charge your phone or other devices with this box. The last item I pack all of this gear in is the Heavy Hauler waterproof backpack. Now it's great because I have everything in one spot. I'll pack an extra pair of clothes in it, I'll pack snacks, and I know that everything I have is going to be dry and protected no matter what conditions I face. Now I hope this list helps you plan and prepare for your upcoming trip this season.
Well, hopefully you found this video informative, and if you have any specific questions about any of the destinations mentioned, let us know below in the comments. And also, the products are listed below in the description. And we also have a great sweepstakes going on. You can win an awesome weekend up on beautiful Lake Vermilion, a guided fishing trip with myself, all expenses paid, as well as a hand-picked tackle pack from Omnia Fishing. And we want to help remind you to stop the spread of aquatic invasive species. Anytime you're leaving any body of water, remember, clean, drain, dry. And here's another video from AnglingBuzz.